now. Can everybody see that on their screen that we're recording? Yeah, good. All right, so I'm delighted to welcome Biba, who agreed to do this talk a little while ago. And Biba, without any further talk from me, I would like to pass over to you and just say welcome everybody and enjoy. And if anybody has any issues, just send me a help request. Okay. Cheers, Biba. It's over to you.
Thank you so much, and hi everyone. It's so good to see you all. So many friends, so many faces, like as Klaus said. So yeah, thank you, John, for hosting this and looking after us so that we can have good time together. Now, I don't want, look guys, I don't want to give you any lecture or talk or anything like that, because you know most of the things that we'll be talking about, but we will be exploring them through, say, learning from our own diversity, so sort of to play with diverse ability of people that inhabit this planet. So yeah, maybe to start with, let me just share my screen. I'd like to invite you to do a little exercise, all of us together. Can you see this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool.
Yes.
So I would like to invite you to, now you know that this hay fever and stuff is coming, how do you sneeze in your language? So that will go in a way that you would write on a piece of paper or maybe on a screen the sound that you produce when you sneeze, yeah? So just write it on a piece of paper, exactly how you would do it in your own language.
Should we write it in the chat, people?
Yeah, you can write in the chat. I was thinking of maybe showing it to the screen like this. Oh, this says, that's funny. It comes in the other way around, so maybe chat will be better. By the way, this is in Slovenian language, and it should be achich, but it says hisha.
Actually, it doesn't. For us, it says achi. We see it in the right order.
So then that's perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
Otherwise, it would have been a house. That's funny. Okay, let me see the chat. Oh my gosh. Right, keep them coming. And what we're going to do now is that you will go in your breakout rooms, and John will take care that you end up with the loveliest people possible. Breakout rooms that you will have 3 people, so it will be you plus 2 others, where you will talk about these things, how you do it, so how you do the sneezing, how long does it take, what the body does when you do it, how does the sound in your language, how do you hear it, and the etiquette that goes with doing it. Do you do it publicly? Do you sort of hide? Or what's the etiquette that goes with the sneezing, yeah? And then when you are done sharing, you will explore the differences and observe what you have learned about the other person's culture, as well as your own. So there might be differences, there might be similarities. We'll see how we do. Yeah?
Okay.
So I will put these questions in a chat as well, so you can see it in your chat rooms.
Thank you.
John, if you wouldn't mind splitting people in groups of 3.
Just doing that now. So would you like me to open the rooms now?
Yeah, that would be perfect. So have fun, guys, and see what comes out when you come back. And that would be for about 10 minutes. Okay. So I'll see you.
Okay, so I'm just
put this in the chat. Yeah.
Okay, Biba, it's just you and me at the moment. I'm not sure if Lillian has joined her room yet. She says, it says she's in her room, so I think she's in her room. For some reason you get this kind of, some people's picture just stays in the screen. So.
Yeah. Let's have a look at this.
Yeah, why don't you?
Habt you? Well, that's funny. Are we? Are all the people in groups of 2 or 3?
They're in 3s. Yeah, there's one. Yeah, everybody's in 3s. Yeah. So,
perfect. Thank you, John.
So we just had someone join just afterwards, so I managed to swap them into a room very quickly. So.
You're so skilled with this. I'm so happy to have you.
No, I wish. It just, yeah. By the way, all this stuff talking offline, I edit out of the video, so don't worry about sneezing into the camera or anything. It's being recorded, but we will edit it all out. So.
Okay. Oh, Kati. Hi, Kati.
Good morning, Kati.
Hi.
It's just John and me, you know.
Yeah, no one else turned up, so
yeah.
it's just the 3 of us.
Good morning. Kati, would you like to join a breakout room? They're just doing a warm-up exercise.
You're on mute, Kati.
She wants to stay on mute, huh?
The running joke, running gag of Zoom, huh? Hi, guys. Yeah, you can put me anywhere you want. That's okay.
Ooh.
Okay, would you like to join a group?
Yeah, I'm fine, yes.
If you look in the chat, you'll see what they're talking about. So,
oh, okay. No, I don't get the chat from before.
All right, okay. I never knew that. Well, thank you. That's something new. I keep learning new things. It's from the participant's point of view. Of course, as the host, you see your stuff. So. Okay, I'm going to put you in breakout room 8.
Yeah, it's not allowed.
Myself in breakout room 8. Excuse me, let me get out of this room. That was an accident. So.
Oh, nice.
Oh. Does it work, Kati?
I'm still here. Nothing happened yet.
Maybe that.
Yeah, now. Yeah, now.
Cool. Okay, cool. John, do you do the long one? The achoo? You're on mute. You're on mute. You're on mute, John.
Every time I come back in, I disappear, so my voice disappears. Which they should stop for the host. I should be permanently on thing if I want to. But anyway, whatever. Yes. Oh, I think we've lost Lillian altogether.
Yeah. Oh, lost. Oh.
Have we lost anyone else? Oh, that's a nuisance because I just put Kati into a room with 3 people. We could have put her in with Klaus and Danielle.
I'm sure Klaus and Danielle are having a really good time there.
Yes, I'm sure they are, yeah. I'm not sure I know Danielle.
No, I mean, I know the name, but don't think I've ever met him. Daniel Turner, is he?
Sorry? Well,
Daniel Turner.
It's a man. I don't know. I'd assume it would be Daniela if it was someone else.
Oh, Danielle.
It's Danielle with an E, so I'm never quite sure with that if it's a man or a woman.
Oh, this is she was. I think it's a she. She's from Belgium, and she used to come to those CEE Seoul conferences.
Okay, so I probably met her. I just photograph didn't come up, so.
Yeah, you've probably met her. I mean, everyone would have known you, I suppose.
That's fascinating, isn't it? How we all write at you differently. So.
Yeah. Aichu. Hachi.
So we lost Alex Tan, sadly.
Oh.
And Jenny is leaving at 11 o'clock because they've got Sunday assembly today. So I was surprised to see her here. So.
Yeah, it's nice that she came.
Oh, that's all
Those
right.
assemblies, I heard from Mark that they're really cool.
Yeah, I'm going to join today actually. So when this call is over, I'm going to join it. So.
We won't go past 11:30.
No.
By all means not.
No, I like to stop at 11:30. Otherwise, people feel like, oh, I'm missing something. But you told me it was 11:30. So.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes with the end discussion and questions. I left maybe 20 minutes for that. So if there are no more, we can finish earlier.
Okay.
I mean, I'm thinking of speaking about a certain chunk of diversity, so culture, nationality, ability and such, and to give people a little exercise with each.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, great.
Cool. I think we've got 3 more minutes.
It's like live television, these things. You can imagine I'd love to measure my pulse rate when I'm doing these actually, because it's so many things happening. At least I don't have someone calling in my ear as well. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, in those meetings, I can't imagine doing them on my own. You know, taking care of everything. Oh God! So I'm really grateful that you're there.
Oh yeah, no, that's my job. That's my job, and to edit the video afterwards. But that will be not straight away afterwards.
Yeah,
be a week or so before that gets done.
Would you mind sending people a message that they have 2 more minutes?
2 more minutes, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
The good thing with SF calls is that, even if they stop talking about the subject, they'll be happily talking about something else. So.
The other day, the fika was great. It was really good.
Yeah, it was a good one, yeah. Yeah, I mean, they obviously, we've had brilliant ones and others are, actually, they've always been, yeah, great, actually. Yeah, you're right. So now and again you get brilliant, and it feels like brilliant to me, and other people might be thinking, oh, this was great.
Yeah, you sort of trust that people will make of them what they do, and they always do somehow something. Yeah.
I find I do find the creative stuff. People like the creative stuff. That's being creative together, and we've had some really funny creative ones. Okay, so I close all rooms now.
Is it 2 minutes already? Yeah.
No, it's 1 minute, but
but before,
it takes a minute to close. So.
Yeah, thank you.
So that's certainly a different icebreaker. I've never seen that one before. So.
We played that the other day. I mean, with one of my last groups, with the sound that a dog makes.
Oh, right.
That was very interesting. Hey, Frank. Suzanne, hi.
Good morning, Frank. Didn't get a chance to say good morning before, but good morning.
Hello.
Hi, welcome back.
Actually, it doesn't matter. It's fine.
Welcome back. Welcome back. We'll wait for everyone to come back in. So if you look at the chat to your right, it's really funny how from a simple gesture like this, you get so many different realities. Hi. Yeah, is that everyone back now?
Yeah, everyone's back. So.
Okay, so let me share my screen again with you. Here we go. Okay, so thank you guys for doing this exercise. I hope you had fun with it. Well, I guess most of you would have met me or would have known what I do. So I'm like you, SF person, but I had real good luck that I've been working internationally ever since I started, and that led from one thing to another. So I work now with groups, mainly with groups with from different countries, different cultures and such. So today, hopefully, if this turns out useful for you, you'll get some ideas how to adjust SF within different contexts. Yeah, that's the whole idea of from today's talk. And below are the pictures. So below is a conference in India last December, and there is another picture where I was working with Iran. And the key learning that I've had from working with groups from different cultures, if we look at the culture first, is that there is vast richness and diversity to learn from and to use in the group processes. So for example, the sneezing exercise, you have probably discovered that we do it differently, that it's all the same. It comes from body needs to reacting on something, and you have to let it out, but we do that very differently. And it's very funny realizing that we do things differently. So cultures tend to perform different behaviors, and that there is no right or wrong way. So I'd like to share a little story with you, which happened in India, where that picture was taken. I went to India for the second time. I was there first time when I was 12, and I remember Indian traffic. You know, someone from the West, say EU or the UK, we do traffic in certain ways, so you know which side of the road you go and which side of the road the other one goes. For Europeans in the UK, that might be a bit confusing, but you get the essence. So one goes there, the other one goes there. And in India, it's very different, because it seems that there is no order at all, and there is chaos everywhere, and there are so many different vehicles. And I remember looking at it from my hotel window, and I thought, no, where am I going out? Because I'm gonna get killed. And then I went to the streets, and it was true. So there were no marks on the road. It was very loud, so people were notifying each other where they were and what they were doing. And I thought, my gosh, am I in trouble? But then observing it and realizing that maybe it's not true that there are no rules and that this is not organized at all. It's just that it doesn't fit my own cultural belief. So it doesn't fit my idea of how the traffic is. So kind of letting go of the assumption of how things should be, and trying to observe what is, kind of equips you with the strategies that you need to survive in that world. So you see, I'm still here, so I survived. And it's true that there was organization, there were rules, that there was patience. All you had to do is look for it, if that makes sense. And that's something that could be really, really useful to use when you work with different groups from different cultures. I'd like to invite you to do something else now. We're going to talk a little bit about the social bonding and behavioral rules. So in a minute, John is going to put you in different breakout rooms this time, again with 2 other people, so 3 people in total, where you will spend some time talking with each other how you usually start a conversation with someone that you have just met. So it's not a friend, it could be an acquaintance, but it's some sort of social occasion. Say there is a conference where there are international, say there was a Solution Focused World Conference, and you just met someone. So what is kind of the safe topic that you start talking about? Okay? Okay, so...
So do you want to put that into the chat?
Yeah, I will do that. Okay,
all right, so you're going into your rooms. Please join your rooms now. Every room has got 3 apart from one with 4 in it. So.
And again, we'll have about 7 minutes for this. Enjoy.
Just checking all the rooms.
Okay, cool. Oh, mind you, I'm really sleazy.
Right, so I'm just going to move someone to move roommates. So Okay, right.
So is
So
it
it's, there should be a way that you can elect someone as a guest speaker and they don't get moved to the rooms. But at the moment, what happens is you get elected to a room, but that means there's only 2 people in the room then. So what I have to do is go down, see where we've got a room with 4 in it, and then move them over.
Oh, can you move people from one room to another as
You
they're
can, yeah. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's probably a bit disconcerting for them when they're just talking to someone else and then suddenly, woo. So I will send her, I can't send her a note, no I can't, but whatever, I just choose the people I think might be okay with it, so.
Yeah, that's cool. Oh, I'm sneezing all the time.
Yeah, I know what you mean about India. Yeah, I ran a course in India and the traffic was just unbelievable, yeah. Yeah,
it's cultural shock, isn't it, for us who are
yeah.
just not used to it?
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, it's everywhere you go. It's a cultural shock. It's, you know, in different places in Africa I've been, and yeah, you just get used to it. I do find I'm really interested to hear about your observations on SF and how it moves culturally, because I actually really haven't found too many issues with SF. It just seems to fit culturally everywhere. It's interesting, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. I mean, I remember it was a while ago where, oh, I can't remember the name now. The Japanese guy who does work in organizations.
Yeah.
Aoki,
yeah.
Yeah, so he was asking, so he did some individual coaching, and he had the impression that the client was not telling the truth. So not giving honest answers, and then he made the remark that maybe SF is more for Western cultures where people are outspoken, while in Eastern cultures it's not very desirable to share your own personal opinion or something like that. And then I can't remember who was responding to that, but the essence was, so what if they're not telling the truth, just carry on. I mean, none of your business. And
yeah, that's my view as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and it seemed like like an odd thing to do, but he tried it, and then he reported back that indeed it made a difference, because the person was still thinking about the answers even though they were giving out something else, and for Aoki that didn't make any difference in asking the next question.
Yeah, that's take our ego out of it, isn't it? It's yeah, it's a great learning. I mean, it took me a long time. It's I had a course with a guy called Michael something. I can't remember his second name now, but he, you know, I said about all these things about being a facilitator, and he said, you know, the best thing to learn is that it's not about you, it's about them. And he says the minute that you just think it's about them, all of that stuff goes away. So it doesn't matter if they are telling lies, or, you know, if they're being obstructive. If it doesn't bother the rest of the group, then that's fine. Yeah,
that's
obviously
fine.
have to step in if there's a problem with the group as a whole. How long is this exercise, by the way?
Until past.
Okay.
So maybe maybe we can send them a note that it's 2 minutes left.
Yeah, that'd be another useful thing for Zoom, would be a little timer that, although there's a timer here saying 50.42, how long I've been online, but if you had a breakout room one, just saying the time of the breakout room has been going, that would be helpful.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Because otherwise you've got to remember to press a button to phone.
Yeah, I mean, Zoom must be so pleased now.
Yeah, their share price has gone through the roof.
Yeah, everyone's using it. Do you use any other platform that's similar to Zoom?
No, the only one I've heard that's close to Zoom is Microsoft Teams. But Google Hangouts is hopeless. I mean, if you can't use breakout, sorry?
I know, yeah, it's horrible.
If you can't use breakout rooms, what's the point? I mean, it just doesn't work. It's just like, oh, here we are in a meeting. It's almost like they've taken the whole concept of a meeting from a room, and said, this is what you get. And yeah, it's odd. There was a report yesterday, some psychologist did a report on Zoom, boredom with Zoom calls already, and or with online calls, not Zoom calls. And I said to Marika in reply was, the problem is people are just taking meetings in the physical world, putting them online and doing exactly the same thing. And you can't do that. You've got to think about what is the difference here. They are isolated. We've got to do some warm-ups. We've got to get people talking to each other.
Yeah, otherwise, yeah.
It's otherwise the people are isolated. And if you've had 6 hours of meetings and all you've done is sit and watch someone, I can understand that you would probably be going quite crazy. So getting people to get up and go and make a tea and
yeah,
it's just something you build into the meeting. It's weird.
Yeah, I have a friend who works for Lloyd's, the banking group, and so they have been working from home before the lockdown even, and he says that in the calls they don't see each other at all. They turn off the cameras, so they're basically only hearing voices. And imagine spending 6 hours on calls just hearing people's voices. I don't think the focus is there at all.
No, it's awful.
Okay, shall we
close the rooms now?
Yeah, thank you.
I remember I was in Nigeria running a course, and I had to do a teleconference at 4 a.m. And suddenly about half an hour, it was a global one, and about half an hour in, there was this which was just lovely.
Was it from you?
Well, actually, that's what I always write now. And I've written about that particular call, and I always write. I'm never sure, was it me?
We're all humans.
Yeah, but yeah, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning in Thailand or something. It was crazy.
Yeah. Welcome back.
Biba, I love your exercises. That's incredible what's happening in the breakout session. Thank you.
Oh, what's happening in the breakout sessions? Do we dare asking? Thank you. Cool. Okay, so right, thank you all. Let's go back to, I want to show you something more. So about the social bonding and behavioral rules, I remember when I properly moved to the UK, a dear friend of mine said that I should read this book. It's called Watching the English, The Hidden Rules of English Behavior. And I thought, why would I bother, reading this? Because I know my friends, I know the culture, right? And they said, no, you've got to read this so you will understand us better. So I read it, and it's funny when, I just have to look at you guys, sorry. When, you meet someone for the first time and you start talking about something, and in the UK, that's usually the weather. For a good reason, because weather in the UK is a proper subject to talk about, because it's so changing, and it's always about, there's drizzling, or, oh, it's the horrible weather, it's so wet. And I remember when I didn't know what this was about, by the way, this is not promoting this book at all, yeah? I listened to the content, and I actually had to formulate an opinion about what the person was saying. So say, it's really cold outside. I had to think, oh, is it really? Do I feel cold or not? And sometimes I said, no, it's not cold. Is it? And I got this interesting response, as in, what? Do you not agree with me? So after reading this book, I understood that I've broken the code, because it was not about the topic at all. It didn't matter. So what mattered is that we met together, and there was some sort of safe talk which allowed us to get used to each other's voice, to allow us to connect and such. So the topic didn't matter. For instance, in Slovenia, the social bonding rule is that you start complaining about something. It's like a cultural thing. So you meet together and you start mumbling about the politics, the neighbors, so anyone who is not in the room but you. And I remember when I was still there, that was really, that was something I really didn't like, because it was pressing me down. It was all this pessimism, it was all this negativity. And thinking about it, it wasn't about the topic at all. Again, it was about this social etiquette, like the sneezing bit. So we all do it differently and the content doesn't matter. Now you might think, how does that connect with SF? It connects with SF that when we listen to our clients, we don't listen to them with the intention of understanding what is it that they're really telling us and what is the underlying meaning behind what they do. But we listen with the intention of building our next question. So you can join in any conversation, may it be the weather. I don't know what you did in your breakout rooms, but it sounds like it was fun. So you talk about something, you bond, and then when the opportunity arises, you can start asking your SF questions. So let me share something that the groups from different nationalities have taught me. So for example, you know, when I work for EU Commission and we have these international trainings, usually it's groups of people from 10 plus different countries, sometimes EU, sometimes non-EU as well. So there is this vast diversity. And imagine you have, like the group at the bottom, you have participants from, say, Italy, Spain, Portugal, whose training day usually doesn't start before 11. So, and then imagine having in the same group people from, say, Germany, Finland, whose working day would usually start at 9. And if you say, okay, we'll start at 10, and you put it on the schedule, so we start at 10, the people from certain countries, and of course those are stereotypes, but stereotypes do have a seed of truth sometimes, would be there 10 a.m. sharp, while some people would turn up at 10:30. And again, this is not something to do with obeying the rules or not obeying, it's just different realities. So if you don't ask, you don't understand how we do certain things. So those groups have taught me the importance of group contracting. And by group contracting, I mean giving the group a chance to work it out how they want to be with each other. So opening the floor and asking participants, so how would we know that us as a group, we are working well together towards the outcome that we all want to see? And then of course, trusting the group that they will work it out somehow. So learning from the diversity of each other to say, okay, if we say that we start at 10, what does that really mean? So when do we really start? Okay, I want to show you something else. Well, actually ask you a question before you go into your breakout rooms again. Now, what about when you work in diverse organizational contexts? So for instance, when your contractor wants this, so they would say, okay, we want to have, say, a training in the lecture format on a certain topic, but you've got participants who actually want that. So sometimes, you know, us in SF, we have to work in guerrilla way. I mean, I often do, where people would say, we want this specific outcomes, and this is the way how you should be delivering those outcomes. And you might be thinking like, no, that's no way how I work, and I can't deliver those outcomes in that way. But you still, do you take that job or don't you? So here is an exercise for you to talk in your breakout rooms, and then we'll talk about it together. 2 questions, I'll put them in the chat as well. One is, how do you carry out your solution-focused work when the contractors have different agendas than what you can offer? And how do you carry out your work when the contractors have different agendas than participants? So participants want one thing, but the contractor wants something else. Okay, that makes sense. I'll put that in the chat while John will.
Yep, just recreating all the rooms here. Just lost someone, so.
Well, John will put you in your breakout rooms and have fun with it.
Yeah. Bear with me 1 second. I just want to, so I don't have to move someone just after they've moved into a room. I'm just looking, see Yeah, we've just lost someone, so it always gets difficult. No, I'm going to ask you to go into your rooms, and then if there's someone I have to move, I will move them. Okay, go. It's a nightmare with breakout rooms, isn't it? Oh. So please join your breakout room if you haven't already.
Oh, people are really well disciplined. Did you see Chris came in?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and he just left.
Yeah, he didn't want to. I guess he didn't want to do any work.
Maybe not. Maybe not. Oh, why have we? Someone else must have left. So we've got a room with only 2 people in it.
That's fine. I mean, as long as it's not just one person.
No,
I mean, I've chosen 3 randomly.
It's Owen and Bias. Oh, well, that'll be interesting to see what they come up with.
The who?
It's Owen and Bias. So let's see what they come up with.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, we should open some floor for them to share their experience from breakout rooms. It'd be so interesting to hear, wouldn't it?
Yeah, what I often do at the end is just ask for, a very short, like, couple of words, really, on what did they come up with. But it can become quite long if you've got 30 people and they all want to talk. And
That's true. How many have we got today? I mean, now.
Well, now I don't know, because I know Chris left and then someone else left who I couldn't spot. But
yeah,
so we've got 30. We got 30. We had 38 with Chris, 37. So we've probably got 36 now.
I don't think he was there from the beginning.
No, that's why I say I suddenly saw him.
Mm.
And,
yeah.
Oh, excuse me, sorry. I didn't realise my cat was in his basket. He just jumped out and wanted to get out the door, and the door was locked. So.
Oh, what kind of a cat have you got?
We have he's an Egyptian street cat. So he's actually from Alexandria. He's stowed away in a container and spent 17 days in a container.
No way.
So he has food issues. So it's yeah.
Renz.
Someone, Renz. Hi, Renz. How are you? No, he's not connected yet. Good morning, Renz. How are you?
Hi. Oh, not sure you can hear us.
Can you hear us, Renz? Do you know Renz, Biba?
No.
Yeah, he's from Netherlands. He was on the training course I was running last year.
Oh.
Here he comes, I think.
Hey, John, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can't see you, but we can hear you. Hey, how are you?
Hi, good to see you.
Oh man, I'm really late.
No worries. You came at perfect time.
Oh, always.
Always.
Oh, you're running breakout rooms already.
Yeah.
This is the 3rd one, so.
This is the 3rd one. I'll send you a private chat to see what they are doing, and if you would like to join them discussing those 2 questions, you may, or you may stay with us. Up to you.
Okay, let me read. I'm obviously not engaged enough yet. I have to read it 3 times.
That's okay. Where are you?
Home in Rotterdam.
In Rotterdam, huh?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's yes, it's interesting, this one, when you were saying about that. Do you just reject the work if it's so against what you want to do? But what I find is I used to do the stuff I used to do in Africa and of course Asia was very much classroom type, but I just made it as interactive as possible.
How did you do that?
And put SF into it. They weren't SF courses, but I put SF into everything I do.
Yeah.
And that's it. So you just, and now I've become much better at, you know, when you walk into a room and they've got a huge ball table and there's nowhere to move. I used to get really upset and say, look, I said no ball table, and it's just there. And now it's just, okay, this is what we've got. We'll work with this and let's see what happens. And it suddenly becomes a lot easier. It's just, I think the big thing I've learned is just get rid of your ego. You know, just push your ego to one side and then just get on with it. And
Yeah.
the best way to do it.
And your expectations.
Yeah.
Yeah, like how things should be, how the room should be, what the size of the group it should be. Yeah. It can be quite
perfect.
stressful, no?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it adds to the stress of it, but that's our job, isn't it? I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the 12 o'clock lunch break in Switzerland, you know, and it's like, oh, we've only just eaten breakfast. So why would you? But they haven't. They ate breakfast at 7 o'clock or whatever. So.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when I was working with Iran, we started at 9 a.m. and at 1 we had lunch for an hour. And then they said, so how long is your usual working day, when we were still negotiating? And I said, I don't know, something like 8 hours. But if you think that people will be tired, we can finish earlier or have more breaks. And they said, 8 hours? We were thinking something like 12 hours. And I thought, what? 12 hours? Well, I mean, I could try do 12 hours, but participants, come on. And indeed, we worked from 9 a.m. until 9 p.m. with 1 hour break, not even the loo break, nothing. I never worked so hard in my life. And you wouldn't believe it. I mean, I couldn't believe the people. Their eyes were that big and they kept asking questions. I thought I would have been dead after lunch.
Yeah.
It was amazing. Like a marathon.
Wow. I think I would object to 12 hours actually as a training.
Yeah, I guess.
Were you training on your own or with a group?
No, it was just me and 12 participants, so the group was rather small.
Wow.
But that made it somehow even more intense because they shot questions at me rather than work in small groups.
Well, they're thinking of that. When I worked with the Open University, all of our residential, we worked from about 8 in the morning till probably 9:30 in the evening.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we had lunch break and we had dinner break, but yeah, it was kind of, you just did it, really. It was interesting.
Yeah.
3-day courses. Yeah.
Wow. But then after that, you drop dead, don't you?
Yeah. Well, it used to be 4 days, and I once did a back-to-back 4 days, 4 days. And I had, the first one, I had a cold and I was just dragging myself into the room. But yeah. Okay, do we need to break them back in again? Or?
We can give them a note that they've got 2 minutes left.
2 minutes, okay.
Be interesting to see what you make of it, Rens. When people come back.
That was the idea. I was having a run and the kids wanted everything and the kids here and kids there. No, I want to go into this one. Well, okay, so I made it here and I actually was hoping like, okay, I just slide in the back door, just listen and pick something out of it.
Cool. Well, I'm sure that you resourceful as you are, you'll pick something that will be useful for you. So we talked a little bit about the working with different cultures and different nationalities. Now people are looking into how to work within different organizational expectations and settings. And when they come back, we'll talk about different political structures. So we'll see.
Yeah, wow. That was actually the sentence that triggered me to, okay, it's Sunday, but the sun is shining, but I want to be behind my computer because my piece of work for SFVO is about a multicultural team that I did a facilitation with. So Stannis and John Wheeler are reading it and giving me feedback on it. So, and I saw this one going by like, ooh, I should have had this one a month ago.
Wonderful. What was the multicultural group? I mean, how big was it?
There were about 10, 12. I don't really remember anymore because it was quite a time ago, but it's a woman from Kenya, a guy from Canada, one American, Finnish, Swedish. It was
so cool.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a good learning experience.
Are you writing a case study on it or an article on how to, or?
No, it was my, I went into it and I thought like, oh, this is a good part or facilitation to do the piece of work in for the SFVO. So, and well, I never really examined like what are the cultural differences or I just figured they're just people and probably there are louder people and less louder people. We'll manage.
That's so cool.
So afterwards, it was really fun to see the things that people say like, wow, Americans are really like this. Oh, probably they are, and they were. So
cool. Hey, Sarah. Hi. Hi, Sarah and Frank. Welcome back. Did you have fun?
Hello. Yes, we had fun with Marco.
Ah, you were with Marco.
Yeah.
It's always fun with Marco.
And he had a great conversation with his neighbor, I think, in Italian.
That's so cool.
So we learned a little bit Italian.
We learned Italian also. Yeah.
Woohoo! Okay, so people are coming back. Welcome back. Really good to see you. I feel we've got this lively vibe going on among us. So good. That's really cool. Okay. Thank you for this exercise. So it's tricky when I suppose all of you who are working with different structures and different expectations to sort of see how you navigate when there are different expectations. So I've had a couple of experience with that as well, when people would say, we want this and this is how you should do it. And you're thinking, well, I could do it that way, but I could do it so much better. But you just don't know whether you should say it like that or how do you work it out. So I want to share with you an example. This is Slovenian government. They look pretty jolly, but they're not jolly. I mean, usually, I suppose, working in public administration has many restrictions and many people are there not because they would enjoy their work massively, but because it pays their bills, and fair enough. So I started working with Slovenian government 3 years ago, 4 years now. And their initial expectation was that they wanted to have a workshop on conflict resolution. So they said, okay, so we want to offer a workshop which should be in a format of, say, a lecture, because we want to equip our decision makers with strategies how to recognize the conflict and with strategies how to analyze it to figure out what's wrong. So this is what they wanted. And I was thinking through the SF lens, so how is this going to be helpful? You know, knowing the causes of the conflicts and having the tools of analyzing it. And anyways, me as a SF person, I can't provide that anyway, because this is not what we do. And I could have said it like that, I suppose, and maybe lose a wonderful opportunity to work together. So I learned the importance of persisting with the what's the difference question. So we started the conversation such as, okay, so if we do a work together that would lead to making some difference for you, how would you know? And they say, well, we'd like to see less conflicts among different political structures within our government. I say, okay, so if that started happening, how would you know that this has started happening? And they'll be saying, yeah, so people would be getting on better, they'll be able to work together. So then I proposed, okay, if we designed a workshop in a way that would enable people to work together and to get on better, would you consider this being useful? And they say, yeah, so you know, giving people strategies how to analyze the conflicts and how to find out the roots, so that they would know what's going on so they could work better. So, okay, so if you saw as a consequence of our work together, so basically repeating the same question, that your people were getting on better and getting the work done, would that be a good outcome? They said, yes. And then I was a bit daring. I said, okay, so would you mind that I design it in a way that would ensure that this outcome is achieved, but maybe the process of the workshop would be slightly different? They were a bit reluctant. And I remember when we started working together, I had a group of 40 people and a group of 5 people observing me to see if I wouldn't do anything wrong. And it was very liberating to see that actually, what was on that slide? Let me show you that again. That actually, you know, when you've got expectations that you want, you think you want something to, that's like a classroom, but actually when you start engaging people in a more creative way and start working with the group, people just love it. I'm sure you've had that experience as well. So in terms of navigating through different expectations, I learned the big importance of the group, of the building the common platform. So sort of agree on the outcome that they want to see after the work, so that you as a trainer then have the freedom to do what you want and how you want to arrive at this specific outcome. So even within political structures, when people would have very clear idea of how the workshop should go or a training should go, with the what difference question, and if you ask it, if you have the opportunity to ask it on different levels, so what would this team notice and what would that team notice and what would the management notice, you eventually arrive at some common ground, and then you can agree, okay, this is what we're working towards, and then the trust starts building up when people see that you as a trainer can actually bring the group to achieve those outcomes. So that's been quite interesting, working with different political structures and the government. So now I won't be asking John to be sending you into breakout rooms, but I'll sort of share some condensed version of what we did, say the true mastery of working with diverse groups and diverse backgrounds. I learned it as I was 18, and we had this high school end exams, and we had to write an essay in mother tongue based on Dostoevsky's novel. And it was Dostoevsky, 600 pages. It was a big chunk of work, and I was really nervous about this essay. So I sent a text to my teacher if she had any advice for me a day before this essay was written. And she said a thing that really stayed with me when I started working with groups. She says, well, the true mastery is learning how to find a way to write your own novel to a given topic, rules and contexts. So sort of accept what people want from you in terms of the topic, in terms of the rules, in terms of the context, and then find a way to sort of write your own novel to this. So in SF way, that would mean when, for instance, I get a contract and it says, you will have a group of 30 participants from 10 different countries, and the topic is youth entrepreneurship. So they should be given strategies how to understand entrepreneurship and how to have this startup mindset. So I know nothing about youth entrepreneurship. I don't know much about startups, but you can still work together because they will bring the expertise. And anyways, you can't give people anything unless they've already got a seed of it in them, within themselves in the first place. So you can pretty much do SF on any given topic, even when it's conflict resolution and finding the causes of the conflict, to sort of write your own novel once this common ground is built, which is what we were talking about with the social bonding. So not listening what people are really talking about, because that's probably not the essence of it, but sort of listen for opportunities where you can start asking your SF questions. Then another thing that was kind of my key learning is when you work with someone who comes from a background that is different to your own, which is probably pretty much any human being ever, because we're all so different, is to learning their language and vocabulary. So for instance, I remember when I came to Iran, I didn't know whether I was supposed to be wearing something, a scarf or something. I knew that I should be covered, but I didn't know much. And people will teach you. So they will tell you how you should be behaving and what are the do's and don'ts. So we had a nice discussion with John while you were in your breakout rooms to sort of try to let go of your own ego and thinking that you're really important in that process. Of course, you're essential as a trainer or as a workshop leader, but you're not the essence of the content of the workshop. The participants are. So kind of trying to understand that our work is split between all of us, so we're in this together. So once you kind of, I guess, give opportunity to the participants to teach you their language and vocabulary, you won't have trouble understanding how to work with them, because they will teach you, they will show you. And then embedding those into the SF discourse. So there is always numerous opportunities how and when you can ask your solution-focused questions. For instance, if I pull out the Slovenian example of social bonding and this negativity again, so people start complaining, say, about now they have this lockdown and they can't go from one municipality to another, and they're really pissed about this, and they will tell you how pissed they are. So you can always ask, so what have you been pleased to notice, about the way that you're living now? And they'll be like, there's nothing to be pleased about because all is bad. So, okay, so, in your house, what have you been pleased to notice about yourself as you're spending more time in your house? And then they might start talking about their garden or whatever. So there is always an opportunity to sort of let your SF question in. And of course, building towards a common platform. So what is it that people want? And how would they know that your work together, your being together, your training together, your gathering together was useful for them? So I guess those of you who work in groups, I learned that the SF process is a little bit different in terms of you do build your contracts on what do they want from the group, but it might be also important and useful. I'm not saying necessary, but in my experience, that's been really useful to build a platform for the group itself as well. So how are you hoping to be as a group together? So in that way, you can overcome many of the cultural or national barriers that may arise from our differences. And you may actually have really, really good experience by embracing this diversity and learn from it, like you did with the sneezing exercise in the start. So I want to spend just a couple of minutes also talking about how to work with groups where there are diverse abilities. So when you work with people who are maybe wheelchair users or are using interpreters, or maybe don't see as well. And here, my key learning has been, I used to work for the University of Ljubljana, where I was sort of head support for students with disabilities, and students taught me everything I know. And of course, still learning, is to trust the group and putting the principle of, if this doesn't work, try something different into action. So getting really creative with SF, because we do believe that clients are the experts, so we don't need to be. So for instance, if you have a really diverse group, like the one with the sticks you can see in the screen, this was a group where we had some people with physical disabilities, and we had some people who had interpreters, and we also had some people who couldn't see. So it was, it was really, really tricky to see how we can work together as a one group, but this is what they wanted. So they refused to be split into smaller groups. They wanted to stay included. So how do you work with that? And then we spent some time thinking about that, and we hired a youth drumming band, and we asked them if they could make a performance for us, and they did. And of course, people who couldn't see, they could hear. People who couldn't hear, they could see what they're doing. And we hired those plastic drumsticks you can see, and they came in different colors. So people were split into teams in one group, and they were performing music together. So I'm not saying that that's the way to go about it, but we were looking into sort of general language, which all of us can use. And music seemed to be one such example where we could work together as the whole group, utilizing diverse abilities and performing together. So yeah, that drumming story was kind of really, really interesting. And of course, we couldn't have come up with an idea like this if we didn't ask people what they wanted and what they can do and what they want to do. So there you go. I'm getting tired by so much talking. So I guess it might be nice to maybe hear some of your experiences, maybe from the breakout rooms, maybe something that you've discovered today, maybe some questions. And as you speak, I would have a look if you've posted any questions, and maybe we can talk. So off you go.
So would anyone like to ask a question?
I would like to share something very valuable, which I learned from you, John, during the Team Impetus workshop. Your exercise of inviting people to lay down on the floor as an icebreaker and to talk about their favorite holidays. I've used it since then so many times, and it's so useful.
Thank you.
How do you use it, Julia?
What makes it useful?
In the beginning of a workshop, invite people to talk in pairs. You first ask them whether they want a conventional start or unconventional start. I think that is clue. You ask them that, and then they always raise their hand and say, unconventional, come on, go. And then you break them in pairs, invite them to lay down on the floor, head to head, and look to the ceiling and talk about their favorite holidays for 1.5 minutes each. And this is the coolest icebreaker I've ever used.
I would like to add on that I don't like the term icebreaker, so I can't connect to that, but I very much can connect this story to Biba's idea of asking the group how they want to be a group. Mm-hmm. And this is an example of not just asking them, but making them have an experience how they are a group. Mm-hmm. I think the moment when they decide for a non-conventional start, they made a decision where they are about defining themselves as a group through action and through this experience. So it's really a brilliant example for what Biba just told us, I think. Thank you, Julia and John.
Yes. Yeah. I do sometimes workshop about safety. It's boring workshop in Italy because it's full of law and people waiting for something very, very boring. So when they arrive, they find, always in Italy, the workshop are being in line. So people are sit down in line. But when they come in the room, they find a circle. And this is quite strange for Italian, not all doing that. And so that just make them the idea that was something different, but they still thinking it's boring. And a lot of them must to come because they must do for the law. And I start to say, okay, you must be there. And maybe you should prefer to stay at home, at work to work, of course, but you must stay there. Suppose they will be useful for you, what you will be different for you, because you must do. And they look at me in a different way, and they start to think in a different way. Then I use my pyramid and made other jokes, but also this different context, different arrangement make a surprise. And I think surprise and curiosity could be a nice door to open new rooms.
I find it very important to have a very detailed discussion with the contractor about what they want and what it would look like. And then part of my contract with whoever contracts me is that I have a pre-session conversation, either one-to-one, depending on how big the group is, or by email on what they want. Then I look for common ground and I go back to the contractor and says, this seems to be the common ground. Are you satisfied with this? Can we go with this? And at the start of the workshop, I would ask the group, this is the common ground between what is asked of me and what you as a group want. Do you want to add something to this? Or are you still okay with this? And then move from that forward.
Yeah, in general, Biba, thanks a lot again for bringing the importance of common ground and different ways to get there and to find it, whether it's about cultural differences, whether it's about differences in abilities of people. So thanks a lot for stressing that again, and the different ways to find it and to get it out of a group, because there is always a common ground in a group. With the importance of looking for it over and over again. So thanks a lot.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Biba, I loved your entry question today about the sneezing, you know, about an experience everybody has and hardly anybody ever likes to talk about. And just creating that tension of inconvenience and curiosity. And then in the first conversation, the question came up, now what does this have to do with SF conversations in groups? How do you, solution-focused sneezing, how do you do that? and then I realized that this confronting two quite different things is an invitation into creativity. And it reminded me of recently, I have a dear colleague who is currently hospitalized due to depression, and I continue writing her small mails once a week or so. And the last time I asked her about her agile competence to handle depression. And I'm really curious now, looking at solution-focused sneezing and agile depression, what comes out of that? Thank you.
Solution-focused sneezing. Actually, you know what? I had a different idea of maybe using some different body sounds, but I didn't dare.
Next time.
Next time.
Yeah, thank you, Biba, and hello, this is Sarah from Denmark. I also connect a lot with the things you are saying, guys, and we were talking about in our group that I was also inspired by, I think it was Kirsten Dielf talking about that we will always have to be aware of the individual person's hope and goals in the group, and not necessarily being agree in the whole group of what will be different for each of us together, but for each of us individuals, because we can never expect that we will go out of this work totally matching persons. We will always have different point of view and always have different goals, and we will also always have different way of handling it. So if we can look at this together, in first point, how will we handle it by ourselves, but how will other people handle this, or how would the goal look for me and for you? We can be able to look on each other in a useful way of working together. So it's not a goal that we should agree, it's a goal that we should corroborate. Yeah.
Hi. Yeah. Thanks, Sarah. I just wanted to say the time we've spent together has made me feel like I want to look again at the common ground between children's services and families who are working with children's services under child protection plans. And I've kind of got this like Venn diagram in my head of children's services and then parents and children. And what is that piece of common ground? I don't have any answers, but I've got this thing going on in my head. So thank you very much to everybody and to you, Biba and John, for today, because that's really provoked something in my mind. Thank you.
It's really cool. Thank you. Yeah, I think when we talk about, you know, people outside of SF, we often get this criticism that SF is one size fits all, and it's technique and all of that, and you can't use it with everyone and anyone. And actually, if you look more closely, like you have been experimenting today, so it's, how to say, when you truly put the principles of SF into action, so clients, experts, you learn from them, you try and learn their language and vocabulary without the intention of trying to understand what is it that they really mean, why would you not be able to do SF in any context, really? Of course, being sensitive that there are different ways of doing life and performing societal rituals and behaviors, but it doesn't mean that SF has no rule in, say, a completely different culture or completely diverse groups being together. And it makes sense, you know, sometimes you would have groups who would have very little in common. And does that mean that you cannot work with them? Of course you could. And as Sarah said, maybe, I mean, in my experience, it had been that maybe the outcome wasn't clear at the beginning, but you work it out somehow. So you proceed. And sometimes in one-on-one work, you would spend, I don't know how many minutes trying to figure out what is it that the person wants from the work. So it's not very clear, and it's okay. We're all in this together, we're learning, aren't we? If that makes sense. Yeah, there you are. Yeah, like you, Kati, put in the chat, the most cool thing is that the common ground is emerging. That's cool, yeah. What else?
So this is Baijesh from India. Hi, Biba. Thank you so much for the experience. Learned that SF is indeed a universal language, and the breakout exercises were really insightful. And many things that I personally was doing in my experience with you know, different corporates and everything, when I was not sure about, like, when they had a different expectation, but my expertise is different, the audience has totally different thing in terms of expectation. So the first question that I ask in the group, that what do you expect from the session, and the answer is totally different from what I'm prepared for. And so then you know that then I remember, Steve and Insu, and they come and I just do a, you know, pranam to them, and then I just landed saying, I asked them solution focused questions, and I asked them how the groups, they themselves come up with their, you know, problems, their solutions. I don't have to do anything. I just have to facilitate the solution focused work and ask the right questions, and it works beautifully. And I thought this is only one thing with me, but after the exercises, I realized that this is universal. All of us are doing that. That's great. Thank you. Thank you so much for the experience.
Thank you.
Can I add a reflection? It's Alex here. First of all, Biba, thank you so much for all of these thoughts. Always amazing. My thought was just about something we didn't talk about at all today, but in the context of applying SF in different cultural contexts, I've always been curious about how our toolbox of SF things can be used in different cultures. And I guess the most extreme version of me doing SF has been in remote villages in Uganda, long way away from the big cities, working with groups of women mostly around entrepreneurship. And I was always nervous about whether the miracle question, the perfect future, would be usable in a context where people have so little, and what their aspirations would be in terms of the perfect future, you know. Because when you've got very little, are you going to be, are your greatest wishes going to be so huge they're kind of impossible in that context. So I was before I started doing that work in rural Uganda nervous, but I was really delighted because we all know that SF kind of works everywhere with organizations, with teams, with people. But it was just, for me, that nervousness about the miracle question. But what I was delighted to find out, and I've done it many times since, is that wherever I am in the world, even in very poor places with very limited resources, when people start to talk about their visions of the future, they are really, they create them in a very realistic way. They're not saying in the villages, I need to have a big sports car and I want to live in a castle. They're always calibrating, finding a way to describe their future, which is both optimistic and beautiful and realistic. So it was just a statement I wanted to make, really, that was the thing I was nervous about when I took SF to Africa, and I came back thinking it still works. That's what I wanted to say.
Perfect.
Yeah. Thank you so much for this, Alex. And I think that makes a really good point. And it reminds me of just before this lockdown, I started working at Feltham, which is a prison for youth offenders, male. So for boys 15 to 18 who have gotten 25 years, so they will never basically, I mean, it will be a while before they get out. And I thought, my God, how can I ask them about their hopeful future? And I had a conversation with someone from the SF world who does the same. And she said, well, try it because hope in prisons works really, really well. And I thought, oh God, but I don't feel comfortable with this at all. And I guess we must have shared some of that same nervousness around it, and it did work. So again, I mean, who am I to have an assumption that it might not work and then therefore not trying it? What could go wrong? Thank you.
And looking at us here, I'm just coming in. Thanks for this, Biba. And I think we're 22 cultures in this call at the moment from everywhere in the world using this. I've been working in Belgium with people who are doing therapy with couples, and the group is quite nervous. So there are 30 therapists thinking, oh my God, you know, we're getting more and more fugitives, more and more culture mixtures that are also very challenging for us. They don't speak our language. And after 2 days of just exploring what is it that you're doing in the conversations, there's so much confidence that it doesn't really matter. And it's really whatever it is that we're doing, if we're coming in with our assumptions and coming in with that confidence of the questions will do the work for us, and we can let these people explore even in their own language without understanding a word of what they're saying, and somehow they walk out more hopeful and resourceful. And so it's beautiful, as Ben always said, it's so safe to do it, solution focused, because you know you can't go wrong. And it's really beautiful to bring up this topic and explore it, and always coming back to it just works no matter what mixture of people you have. If you trust them, speak their language, let them talk in their language about their hopes. It doesn't, it's really beautiful, and a beautiful reminder if we're, yeah. Thank you. Very great.
And thank you. I want to say thank you to you for bringing this up, because a lot of stuff that helped me when I was talking with people, which I maybe didn't understand, was continually thinking about the solution focus, saying about you don't have to understand a problem to find the solution. So you don't have to understand the people you're talking with to help them. So yeah, just a small note.
Biba,
yes,
I thank you very, very much for this morning, because it does remind me of my first case I ever did in solution focus. I'd gone to a radio station. They were going to close because they had no funding. And the first line, I thought, I'd been with the manager, said, well, I'll do the workshop for you in 3 weeks. And basically, I thought, well, I'll do something different. And I'd read Daniel Mayer's Preparing the Ground out of his team coaching. And I thought, well, let's try something different. Instead, there was a group of about 10. And I just thought, okay, you're all different. And basically, all I said, well, normally I would sort of look at the rules of the workshop first. We know what you want. However, on this occasion, basically, you can decide between yourselves. I'll give you 5-10 minutes to choose between yourselves what the rules are, and give them a couple of examples. They came up with about 5 things they wanted to do. At the end of that workshop, they had 15 ideas because they were treated as experts in their own field, and I allowed them to actually use the rules. And all I was going to do was basically set the framework. And that was also utilized in another case I did, basically, that there was conflict between, there was a tri-party conflict with Salford City Council and a housing group and subcontractors. The subcontractors were very, very difficult. I got there, the other group, and I did exactly the same thing. And again, they came up with very, very positive ideas on how they can actually work. So your idea and Stanislaus' idea of finding the common ground was just, in some ways, what were the rules of the workshop. And I thank you very much for this, because it's just given me that little bit of extra confidence to go out again, and knowing that the confidence that I had then is still there. Thank you.
Woohoo! Very good. Thank you so much for sharing this. Over to you, John.
Biba. Yeah, thank you, Biba. I just realized by your words that also solution focus changed the stereotypes. When we have a groups with different people, different point of Italy, or different rules, often start stereotypes. But when we use solution focus way, and when I do solution focus results gossip, everything change, because they meet in a different way. They talk in a different way, and they look all together with the benefit for themselves. And that change. And cross your words, I also see that, because stereotypes come in our mind, and we have a constraint in our mind, but the solution focus can change it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. It was really, really cool time together. And give the final word to John to wrap it up.
Well, it's not the final word from me. Actually, it's going to be the final word from the people. So what I'd like you to do, please, what we like to do at the end of these is just a very, very short compliment to Biba. And we've already had a few from people. So those who've already given her a compliment, that's fine. But who would like to start with their compliments, just to end the call?
I'll start. Biba, just thank you so much for your energy and reminding us that we actually, we're about hope and creating a sense for everybody that there is a place that we all can meet, and we need that in this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Lillian. And someone else?
And for me, it's that you offered the chance that the solution-focused community with all its diversity could come together, and we could experience it in the breakout rooms. This was fantastic as well. Thank you.
Someone else?
I want to thank you all for partaking in this. In this time, we can easily feel isolated, and everybody who's having these webinar Zoom sessions and initiating it, you are doing a great job, and please repeat it. It's of immense value to me here in South Africa. Thank you.
Thank you, Stanis. And just so that you know, everyone, we have another global chapter meeting next week coming from Australia. That's at a different time. That's run for Australian time, or Australasian time, I should say. So look out for that. We've sent out notes to all the SFIO contributors, and it will be on Soul World and our website as well, and LinkedIn. And also there'll be another Fika next week, next Thursday. So look out for the notes about that. And anyone else want to make a final comment?
Biba, something really very specific. I liked your one sentence comments after we joined together, when we joined together after the breakout rooms. So probably you observed the face expressions, or I don't know how you did, but there was a comment on how we looked, the change of the dynamics and energy. So thank you for that. I will learn from that.
Okay. Good. So it's 2 minutes to 11:30, and we're going to wrap here. And I'd just like to say a huge thank you to Biba from SFIO. Thank you for being our guest today, our guest speaker. Thank you, all of you, all over the world, literally all over the world, which is always fabulous from my point of view. I love seeing everyone coming in from different countries. And yeah, we'll see you again very soon. And just give Biba a little applause to send her out. Silent applause from your end. So.
A loud applause.
Yeah, that's it, Biba. That's it. Thanks very much, everyone. Thanks. And this is recording, but it'll take me a little while to edit it, but it will be coming out as a recording. So enjoy the rest of your Sunday, or enjoy your sleep. Or Alan, if you're in Canada at 5 in the morning, I hope you haven't slept all the way through this. So thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Lots of love.
Bye-bye.
Okay, I'm going to end the meeting now. So goodbye, everyone. Cheers, Dennis. Cheers, Renz. Great to see you again.
Bye, John. Thank you.
I look forward to seeing your review. So.
Yeah, it's Stefanos is probably reading my answers to his comments again.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Okay, cheers. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.